So it's noontime at the iFX Expo International, and the spirits are still strong. For the next interview, we have Charles Savva, Managing Director at Savva and Associates. Savva, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to start with a bit of a strong question for you. In recent years, the costs of obtaining a Cyprus investment firm license have risen materially. At the same time, we've seen that the market has plateaued a bit. The number of registered SIFs has stayed relatively the same in the past decade. So I'm wondering, do you see this increase in costs as a deliberate effort to cap the sector size?
I don't think the intention is exactly to cap the size of the market per se. I believe the emphasis is more on issues like governance, compliance, substance, and definitely capital adequacy. So at the end of the day, what I think we're seeing is better capitalized companies are entering the market. And then at the end of the day, what they're looking to do is increase the quality and not really focusing on decreasing the quantity or the size of the market. That's the perspective that I sort of see the direction of things.
So the focus on quality rather than quantity is what essentially kept the market at the same size.
I believe so, and I believe that's the underlying intent behind our regulator, our government. Essentially that, to increase the quality of the market. And of course, that will mean to some degree lesser participants entering the market as well.
Now, speaking about participants entering the market, historically, Cyprus tax regime, which is very favorable, has been the primary carrot for foreign companies looking to open shop in the island. In this more complex environment that we are living in, is that still the primary motivation, or have things changed?
Yeah. Well, tax is still a major driver, but it's not the only one anymore, or at least as it was in the past. Now there are very important variables like the existence of highly trained human capital, the existence of infrastructure, the existence of the island as a hub for this sort of business, that are all very important drivers of the decision to base your business here in Cyprus. So whereas in the past, tax was the major, if not sole factor behind the decision, I think now it's simply one of the major factors that lead to the ultimate decision.
So if we create a hierarchy, a pyramid of reasons, firms relocate to Cyprus, and we set taxation aside, which will sit at the top of the pyramid?
I think ultimately at the top of the pyramid is Cyprus offers the ability to run a credible business out of a full EU jurisdiction that gives you an ample supply of talent, lifestyle, substance, banking, all of the necessary elements for a business to be successful. So at the end of the day, if you want to kind of term it under one category, it's the infrastructure that the island provides to help a business become successful. And of course, taxation is an important element to the overall attractiveness of the island, but it is no longer the sole or even in many cases, the major contributor of that
It
decision.
sweetens the deal.
Absolutely, yes.
So I would like to switch gears now to regulation. One of the most important regulatory regimes that came out in the last few years is MiCA. But one of the things that we have observed with MiCA is that the compliance price tag makes it much easier for firms with financial muscle to pay those costs, and in this favors smaller innovators. How big of a problem do you think this is? And do you think that this is something that needs to be reviewed?
So look, MiCA has definitely increased the costs to enter into this space and also to maintain your existing business. I, I, I would hesitate, however, to state that the intention of MiCA was to sort of detract smaller players from entering the market, because I think it's quite clear that the overall objective is harmonization within the EU, AML integrity, and factors that unfortunately through MiCA do favor companies with a stronger financial backing than smaller companies. So I do agree to a certain extent that that is a challenge, and yes, that will need to be addressed, because also one of the overarching initiatives for MiCA was to promote innovation, right? And to promote innovation, you don't want to scare off or detract the smaller players. So yeah, there's a balance that needs to be struck, and I think it is definitely one of the challenges that will need to be discussed and addressed.
Another thing that we have observed with MiCA, and this is might be Cyprus dependent, is that, if I'm not mistaken, 12 entities have received MiCA authorization from CySec, and the vast majority are players that already had a MiFID license. So I'm wondering, what do having a MiFID license makes it easier to get a MiCA license, and why?
Okay. There's two parts to that question. I'll answer each separately. I don't think we can make too many inferences at this stage based on, as you correctly state, a very small number of licenses that have been given out. Sure, they do indicate a pattern, but I would hesitate to draw too many conclusions on what that pattern
The sample
may or may not
size is too
be.
small.
Exactly. So that's the one part of your question. Now, in terms of what added experience a MiFID firm could bring to the table, I think, look, I think the answer is kind of clear there. The experience dealing in a regulated market, dealing with that regulator, the specific regulator, dealing in that environment, I think is a clear advantage for pursuing pursuing
Yeah,
a
MiCA.
license that unfortunately as you state, only been given to a very small number of companies to date.
Okay. Now, I want to wrap this conversation by tapping into your experience in the market. You've seen Cyprus go through many cycles. Looking at the companies that are currently eyeing the island, right? What is the one thing that they consistently get wrong about what it means to relocate and operate here on the islands?
The capitalization needs that will be required. That is the single biggest mistake we see from the cases that we're involved in, the clients that we work with and assist with. and we tell clients from the very beginning they need to work their numbers very, very carefully before they make the decision to come to Cyprus. So they need to factor in the necessary substance, the necessary compliance costs, and all the other costs that go into getting off the ground and then starting a business in this space. So we've got significant experience helping startups establish a footprint in Cyprus, and part of that experience is also helping them establish realistic expectations on what their costs and cash flows would look like in the initial stages of their business in Cyprus.
Brilliant. Savva, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here.